The sun was setting over the Sea of Galilee. The sky glowed with shades of orange, pink, and soft purple, as if painted by God's own hand. The water sparkled gently in the fading light. Birds chirped as they flew home to their nests, and fishermen along the shore pulled in their nets for the night. Jesus stood with his disciples by the shore. He told them it was time to cross to the other side of the lake. The disciples obeyed quickly, pushing a wooden boat into the water. Its creaky boards and tall mast were familiar to these fishermen who had spent much of their lives on the sea. They climbed in, one after another, steadying themselves as the boat rocked gently. Some took the oars, others leaned back, happy to rest after a long day. Jesus found a soft cushion at the back of the boat and lay down peacefully. His eyes soon closed, and he drifted into sleep. At first, everything was calm. The lake was smooth, reflecting the colors of the sunset like a mirror. The disciples rowed steadily, dipping their oars into the water with a rhythm that splashed gently. Some of them laughed, sharing stories of their fishing days. Others admired the stars slowly appearing in the sky. It was a quiet, safe night. But far away, beyond the horizon, the sky began to change. Dark clouds started creeping in, swallowing the stars one by one. The breeze grew stronger, blowing across the water in quick, sharp gusts. The disciples noticed the sudden chill in the air. "Strange," one of them whispered. "That wind came out of nowhere." The boat rocked a little harder. The oarsmen tightened their grip. A few chuckled nervously, brushing it off, but deep inside, uneasiness grew. Then, splash! A wave slapped the side of the boat. The disciples glanced at each other. Another wave came, larger this time, rocking the boat. The once peaceful sea was waking up. In just moments, the breeze became a roar. The calm waters turned wild. The waves rose higher and higher, crashing against the sides of the boat. Spray flew everywhere, soaking the disciples' robes. Lightning streaked across the sky, followed by a deep, rolling thunder that shook the air. The disciples scrambled. Some pulled at the ropes, trying to steady the sail that whipped violently in the wind. Others grabbed buckets, scooping water that poured into the boat. One slipped on the wet deck, arms flailing in the air before catching a rope just in time. Another shouted, "Row harder!" But the oars were no match for the furious sea. The storm was fierce. The little boat was tossed like a toy in a giant's hand. The disciples' faces showed every kind of fear: wide eyes, trembling lips, and panicked cries. Some hugged the sides of the boat, and through all the chaos, Jesus slept, peaceful, still. His head rested on the cushion, his breathing slow and steady. It was as if he was in a different world, untouched by the raging sea. The disciples couldn't believe it. They stumbled across the rocking boat and shook him awake. "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" they cried, their words almost lost in the roar of the storm. Jesus slowly opened his eyes. He stood up in the swaying boat, calm and steady. The disciples fell silent, watching him, their hearts pounding with both fear and desperate hope. Jesus lifted his hand toward the raging storm. His voice carried power, cutting through the wind and waves. "Peace, be still." At once the wind stopped. The waves dropped flat. The sea became smooth as glass. The clouds vanished, revealing a clear night sky filled with twinkling stars. The storm was gone in an instant. The disciples stood frozen. Their mouths hung open, their eyes stretched wide. The boat that moments ago was on the edge of sinking now glided quietly across calm waters. Some of the disciples fell to their knees, their hearts overwhelmed. Others whispered in amazement, "Who is this man? Even the wind and the waves obey him." They sat in silence, staring at Jesus, who returned to his place and lay down again. His presence a reminder that he was greater than any storm. The disciples glanced at one another. Their fear had melted into awe. Joy filled their hearts. They no longer felt alone, for they knew, truly knew, that with Jesus, even the fiercest storms had no power over them. And the disciples would never forget that night when the mighty storm bowed in obedience to the voice of their Master. Because when life feels stormy and frightening, Jesus is still the one who brings peace.